certainly had to have been a lot of frustrations between red zone penalties, all kinds of big plays that came back, but you guys stuck it out and able to get a win. Just give me your feelings on the victory.
You don't need my comments. You just made them, man. I mean, you're all set. I mean, look, defensively, you can't ask much more from a group. I mean, 2.3 yards per rush, 229 total. We gave up 7 points, and we had one snafu that set them up for the touchdown. Offensively, really, when you start looking at the numbers, don't feel bad about that either. 4.9 yards per rush. We were 61% passing, 402 yards. What really, limited us was, our special teams play, which just simply isn't good enough at this point in time. Our offense had awful starting field position, but as you know, we've got some explosiveness there, and we're able to, at least get to the force field, which seemed to be the 30 or the 25-yard line when things started to go ahead and clog up on us. We had I have to address the discipline issues on our football team, and not meaning that they're off the field situations, but we had 11 penalties and they called three on Holy Cross. Thought that was a little tough. I've talked to the kids this morning about the ones that are happening before the snap. Those are mental, and the ones that happen after the snap, those are things that are beyond your control. So play hard, be aggressive, and if the flag comes out, it comes out. Um, so I mean, I thought first and foremost, though, it's nice to beat the Patriot League. I think that becomes a very serious component with all of our competitive programs, competitive conferences. I don't like the people are leaving us, and so to be able to notch one up against last year's Patriot League share of the title uh, group, I was very pleased to walk away with a win, and very fortunate that Garth White, had a hot leg and got himself through three times, and I certainly should have taken 3 points at the beginning of the third quarter. Might have given us some breathing room a little bit, at least one point to carry into the second half. So, plenty to fix, but looking forward to moving on and getting LIU at homecoming this weekend.
Question from Steve. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Rob. Thanks. Morning, Coach. Coach, you talked about Garth White. That 41-yarder is what everybody's talking about. A lot of people talking about. But Devin Farrell deserves some credit. He could have gotten sacked. He got out of that and kept you in field goal range.
I'm telling you, the guy, he's a special player. His composure, leads our team very well. I think, we seem to have been able for the last 2 years to avoid the panic button, and I think that's a lot to do with, the leadership at that quarterback spot. He played through some adverse situations, that we all run into during the course of the season. But I thought he played tough. He helped us with his legs when he needed to, and he delivered the balls to his targets. So I was disappointed that we had the one touchdown pass called back to Littleton. They called the center on a hold, and it was a tough one. But listen, that kid deserves a bunch of credit, and he's earning his accolades without a doubt.
And if I could follow up, Connor Finer each week getting more and more part of the offense. He had a good day. Just talk about his involvement with this team.
We've been wanting to do that. That was a point of emphasis for us to involve, all the tight ends in our passing attack a little bit more. We're able to find Connor. He obviously has the ability to do something with the ball after the catch, and I just think he's a really special player. Giving us an opportunity to play him, in the core, outside the core. Got good body control and good hands. So I would say we continue to see more utilization of him in the tight end position and everything that we do, and just give Dev another weapon, which Dev probably could have probably takes it back. Probably we had a why not on the goal line that if we had delivered probably would have been a touchdown. And so there are a couple of things that we weren't real sharp on, but you're right to recognize Connor Finer as a contributor.
I could ask one more, Rob. 5 sacks on the defensive side, Coach. Second half, you really put some pressure on Moses Muse, CAA Defensive Player of the Week. Just talk about another Rhode Island kid coming up big for you.
Yeah. I mean, Mo, he's getting better and better, but I mean, that unit as a whole is really impressive. I think that, the coaching staff puts them in the right spots. They're playing extremely hard. I think we're fundamental. I think we're tackling well. And, they don't they don't care. Put the ball down, and they've been able to go ahead and apply the pressure. That was a difficult quarterback to contain, and I think that our guys did a pretty good job of it. He got out a couple of times, but old AJ, and you got some edge rushers there and some inside guys. I mean, they're formidable guys. And when the lights come on and was needed, AJ stepped up again and made a guy go ahead and throw the ball before he wanted to. And shockingly, they were sitting there going to review on that one to see if he had targeted. I mean, it was like that would have been an interesting finish to the game. That one might have left me in Worcester, Mass, for the remainder of my life without a doubt.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Rob.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Coach, you knew you had a lot back on offense, but that defense, AJ, you only had two starters back. Are you surprised, or how impressed are you the way that group has come together through the 3 weeks?
I'm not surprised because I've got tremendous, belief in the coaching abilities of that defensive staff. I think that they're very fundamental. They have a very high standard of performance, and we all understand this game, can be very cruel to people, and take their seasons away with, like we saw Kareem Wilson lost him a couple weeks ago, and someone else has to step up. But there's some creative things being done up there. I give great credit to Coach Laurenti and that staff to get them lined up properly. But you know, AJ is a lightning rod. I mean, the guy, is 100 miles an hour all the time, and that sets the tempo of that defense without a doubt. And then to see a guy like Moses continue to improve, I mean, he's starting to get to a point where he's a dominant player, and I think he's got plenty of time left to continue to improve. But when he gets out there and swallows up a quarterback, it's impressive. And you looked at, I think we had five guys, five different guys might have had all one sack apiece, if I'm not mistaken. And guys
Mhm.
stepping up. So AJ's getting a lot of attention, but that's bringing some other guys free too.
Here with you are head coach Jim Fleming. If you have a quick question for him this morning, just use the chat feature or the raise your hand icon. You touched on Garth White earlier, 3 for 3 on field goals, including that game-winning 41-yarder, which I believe was his career long. Any doubts when we were sending him out there, and how impressed were you with how he handled that situation?
Yeah, I'm laughing only because, there's certain thing that I'm sure we all share as football coaches is we want to have confidence in those things. But as I talked to Garth before the game, I said, "How you doing? You ready to go?" Well, let me back it up. I said, you could be after last, Stony Brook, we got one blocked, I believe, and he was disappointed about that. I was disappointed about that. It was a low kick. But at the same time, that New Hampshire kid got, National Player of the Week from kicking all those field goals versus Holy Cross. And so I told him in the early week, I say, that could be you, and it needs to be you at some point in time. And then I go up there before the game and I said, "How you feeling?" He says, "I need Advil." And I just wanted to jump off the bridge or jump off the top of the press box. So anybody who's got the great answer in terms of how to manage that personalities of those guys is more than welcome to give me a call. But I was thrilled for him because you saw his confidence grow, and I think now we build on that, and I will have more confidence to kick that field goal at the beginning of the third quarter.
As you touched on, you guys back at home on Saturday against LIU, a team that's 1-2, but that one win is over an FBS team in Eastern Michigan. Talk about some of the challenges that they can present.
Yeah, they went down to Florida and they took their medicine and got their paycheck like we all seem to, and then they came back and rallied back versus Eastern Michigan, which is no easy place to go to. I've been there many, many times. Their quarterback 14 got banged up in that ball game, so he was unavailable for the Sacred Heart game. So I think that it's really going to be a question of us, playing our style of ball on both sides, obviously, but they present challenges with their offensive attack is triple option based. It's mostly sitting there all over the place, a lot of perimeter stuff. We're going to have to be very good with our gap fits and our perimeter support. And then offense, their defense, they've got some cats that are running around, big bodies. They changed up their fronts quite a bit, and present some challenges there. But I think we match up fairly well, and but their advantage has been in the kicking game. They've seemed to do some good things. So we got our hands full. We had a knockdown drag out with them last year, and we've got to be very well prepared to be able to take them, but we are at home. That's an advantage. We got homecoming and we got our crowd hopefully to be out there hanging off the rafters, and really looking forward to getting out and playing again, but just starting the process today.
One more for you from Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
You're on mute, bro. You're on mute, Steve. You're muted. You're still muted.
Wasn't really that enlightening anyway. But I wanted to touch on that home field for next week. You had 2 road games behind you, 2 ahead of you after this. This one home game kind of on an island makes you appreciate being there, right?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm hoping everybody comes on out. Hope the weather's good. I haven't even looked ahead that far yet, but it's homecoming, and shown. I think that one's been sold out for quite some time. I'm sure there's plenty of seats available, even though they say it's sold out, you can get in there. I'd really like to be able to give them that experience. It is. We had 2 tough road games in a row. Coming back home is a big sigh of relief. It's been good to us last year, and we want to continue to make it good to us this year. So, absolutely want to see everybody hanging off the rafters and cheering the Rhode Rams on, and we'll go out and play as good as we can and hope for another victory.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Rob.
All right. Jim, thanks as always for your time.